Alright, it's a different type of video there. Democracy. Is democracy properly practiced in the Philippines? Democracy, often defined as a system where power resides with the people, grants essential freedoms such as the right to vote, freedom of expression, and the chance for all citizens to participate in governance. In theory, a democratic government upholds equality, transparency, and accountability, empowering citizens to influence government decisions and select their leaders freely. Yet the scope of democracy goes beyond the right to vote alone. It also includes freedoms like a free press and unrestricted speech, ideally fostering a society where the people actively shape the nation's direction. The strength of democracy depends on its authentic implementation within society, on whether citizens generally feel that their voices are respected and that they can engage in civic matters without fear or coercion. In the Philippines, however, the exercise of democracy remains compromised. Though the country operates as a democratic state, several issues suggest that this democracy is incomplete. Widespread vote buying, limited public access to information, the dominance of a wealthy ruling class, and the risks faced by journalists paint a picture of democracy that struggles to live up to its ideals. The voting process, which serves as a cornerstone of democratic participation, illustrates some of these challenges. While Filipinos have the right to vote, many lack the resources and information necessary to make fully informed choices. Limited educational access and restricted access to unbiased information leave voters vulnerable to manipulation. Vote buying is common, and this practice exploits individuals' immediate financial needs, effectively pushing them to vote for certain candidates in exchange for money or goods. When votes are swayed by immediate material benefits rather than informed judgment, the principle of free choice is compromised. Moreover, the influence of wealth and social status over political representation raises significant barriers to genuine democracy. Most government officials belong to the upper middle or wealthy classes, leaving marginalized groups underrepresented. The legislative and executive branches, primarily occupied by affluent individuals, rarely includes voices from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. This pattern not only maintains a cycle of patronage, but also prevents the government from effectively addressing widespread poverty and inequality. Such a setup marginalizes the poor, reinforcing systemic discrimination and creating a power imbalance that hinders the democratic promise of equality. Without real opportunities or pathways for underprivileged citizens to participate, democracy remains restricted to a privileged few. Freedom of expression, a critical element of democracy, also faces significant threats in the Philippines. Journalists who report on government issues or question political leaders frequently risk their lives. According to the National Union of Journalists of the Philippines, NUJP, 87 journalists were killed between 1992 and 2021, with 22 of those deaths occurring under the Duterte administration. Figures like Percy Lapid, who criticized the Marcos administration, and Vincent Rodriguez, who covered politically sensitive stories, exemplified the serious threats journalists encountered. These dangers prevent the media from holding the government accountable and restrict public access to diverse viewpoints. When journalists fear retaliation, the media's role is informing and scrutinizing the government's weakness, eroding an essential pillar of democracy. Recent political developments in the Philippines further indicate democratic backsliding, as seen in the rise of populist leaders and the erosion of people power's legacy. The outcome of the 2022 elections, which brought Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to power, highlights the declining appeal of traditional democratic ideals. Many Filipinos feel disillusioned with a system that does not improve their everyday lives, making them receptive to populist rhetoric that promises direct solutions while bypassing democratic accountability. This cycle not only disrupts the democratic norms of peaceful power transition, but also weakens the foundation of a democratic culture by fostering personal loyalty over institutional stability. A liberal democracy, a system defined by fair elections, press freedom, and peaceful transfers of power, embodies the democratic ideal. Although the Philippines upholds some democratic practices in theory, the reality often diverges from those ideals. Many citizens perceive the government as providing the appearance of democracy rather than empowering its citizens meaningfully. When individuals live in fear of retaliation for exercising their rights, authentic democratic participation becomes unattainable. A true democracy should ensure that citizens can make choices without intimidation or fear of violence. In conclusion, while the Philippines officially operates as a democratic state, there are significant barriers to its genuine democratic practice. Socioeconomic inequalities, threats to press freedom, vote manipulation, and the influence of the wealthy ruling class collectively hinder the realization of true democracy. To address these challenges, the Philippines must tackle these systematic issues to empower all citizens, protect freedoms, and build a government that genuinely represents the people's will. And that's all. Thank you for watching.